Wow, so something happened last week and it affected a lot of homeowners here in Idaho, and it's created quite a stir. What do you suppose that was? Let's talk about that next. Hey there, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here, and today I want to talk about something that happened here in Idaho last week that homeowners are all in a buzz about. But first, I wanted to remind you that if you're thinking Idaho might be the place that you want to move to, please give us a call, text, email. We've all made that relocation journey and we're certainly looking forward to answering your questions. Maybe Idaho isn't the place for you, but I think it's probably a good idea to find out more information so you make an educated decision, right? Anyway, give us a holler. And if you like this video, be sure you've gone ahead and subscribed and put a little like on this video, hit the notification bell, and then share with somebody else that might need to see this. So what happened? The property assessment statements came out, and believe you me, it's all the buzz over talk radio on the internet and things like that. And I wanted to bring a little clarity to this because I had a friend that was a pilot in the Air Force, and he had this phrase that I think is kind of applicable right now. It said all thrust and no vector. So that's what we have is people calling in on the radio shows and whatnot and just kind of spouting stuff off because they don't understand what's really going on. And I'm not saying what's going on is great or anything. I'm just saying let's have some reality before we get all, like Obama said, weed up. That was a quote.
There's something about August going into September where everybody in Washington gets all weed up.
Anyway, so let's go over here and take a look at some of the stuff that's going on. Okay, so we all remember this guy, and this isn't just Idaho here, but we remember he said that property taxes are surging across the 2020 U.S. housing market. Oh my gosh, owners are forced to sell. It's like, oh my gosh, Armageddon has hit. Alrighty, so maybe so. No, not really. Here's a group here in Idaho, Eliminate Property Tax, and this is on Facebook. And they were given the results of what the recent primary that we had. And they're talking about the 26 races they had, 7 candidates wanted to completely eliminate property tax. Another 23 advocated for relief and reform. So they said that 58% of the people running for office got the message. And what does that mean? This guy says, I keep hearing about the evils of taxes on unrealized capital gains. Isn't that what property taxes are in Idaho? Well, property taxes are what they are. What he's talking about here is that the Biden administration was talking about if your house has gone up in value, they're going to tax you on that increase in value as if that was cash in your pocket, which it's not.
If you don't make $400,000, you're not going to pay a single penny in additional federal taxes.
Which is, really unfair, immoral, whatever word you want to put to it. And he's saying, aren't taxes exactly the same thing? Well, and you do see all those t-shirts and bumper stickers, taxes are theft. And I think at the end of the day, in a perfect world, that's absolutely true. But we need to pay for some of our community services some way. It could be some other way than property taxes. I'm not sure, but for today, let's talk about how these property taxes, or more importantly, the assessment that came out last week. So here's some of the hyperbole going on. Homeowners react to another outrageous property tax hike. There hasn't been a property tax hike. And so it's like, this is one of those people that just gets all, weed up.
Gets all weed up.
And without knowing what they're really talking about. The story is very fair. The headline's a bit of a clickbait thing with that lady up there getting all worked up. And who's this from? This is from our good friend Kevin Miller over at 580 KIDO. And if you want to know what's going on and you're still in California, check him out on the web and KIDOtalkradio.com. And then you can listen to them for a few mornings. You start to get an idea of kind of what's one angle or one aspect of sentiment going on up here. So here in this story that Kevin put together, he grabbed some tweets. This guy says, I can't wait to see how much my tax bill increases. He just got his love letter from the assessors. Where is property tax relief? Keep that in mind. We'll talk about that in a little bit. This person, I want to thank all the conservative Idaho legislature for eliminating indexing on property tax exemption. So our property taxes are going to go up 57% this year. Our property taxes are going to go up 57% this year. Well, keep that in mind. And what they're talking about here is that until a couple of years ago, there was a percentage of whatever values went up, then your homeowner's exemption would go up. And then a few years ago, the legislature changed that to a flat, it was $100,000, then they increased it to $125,000. So if you live in your house, whatever the assessed value is, 120. If you're the homeowner living in the house, 125,000 comes off, and then they figure the tax on the balance. And let's see, was there any more on here? Oh, a local representative wanted to bring back the floating index to help fight the raising property tax assessments. Which, I mean, the taxes and the assessment really have a very little to do with each other. And let's talk about that here. So this is a pretty fair article here from the Idaho Statesman. 60% see increase on their property assessment. That's the key word here, because that's what we have seen our increase on, was on the assessment, not on the taxes. And Idaho law requires the assessor's office to have assessments within 10% of the actual home sales price, and to be in compliance. So apparently Canyon County had been kind of not keeping up with their appraisal amounts and the market. So they've been kind of sliding behind. So now all of a sudden this year, they got their act together and they're getting back to where it should be. So that's why we're seeing such a huge jump in the assessment. Doesn't mean that values went up 60% or whatever since last year. It just means that they weren't doing, the county wasn't keeping up with the assessments before, which contributed to this. So let's bring it on home here. So this is my abode. And so last year it was assessed at $320 minus the exemption, $195. This year it's going to be $445, $125, and $320. So that is a big jump, right? But here's the thing. Let's look over here. This is the letter that came out in Canyon County from the assessor with these assessments. And they want to remind you that it's equally important to know that is that your taxes will not increase at the same rate as your assessment, because they're two different things. Idaho's property tax system is a budget base. This means that your property taxes are driven by the individual taxing district's budgets in your area. And you do have a say in this. So what does this mean? This comes back to, these are the taxing districts that have something to do with where my house is. And I can get involved, I can call them up, I can go to meetings and voice my opinion. Whether they're doing any good or not, I have no idea. But this is where you get your taxes from. I mean, this is where you're paying your taxes too. And how much you pay comes from these people. Also in Idaho, if I'm remembering this right, is that by law, these people can not increase their budget year over year by more than 3%. So this hyperbole, we're saying, oh, my taxes went up 57%. It's absolutely impossible for that to happen. The most that could happen if all of these increased at 3% was that your tax bill would increase by a total of 3%. And maybe some of these don't need 3%. I know that the state's very flush with billions of extra money. So maybe some of these people, these districts are getting money from someplace else. So the most that your taxes could go up year over year is 3% if every taxing district that it touches your house goes up the max. What else do they say? The reason that this came about was that annual ratio studies were done, and they found that Canyon County was out of compliance. And so because they did kind of a catch up with the assessment, it translated to even higher assessments this year. The homeowners exemption is a program that offers some tax relief. We just talked about that a little bit ago. The assessor, Brian down here, he said that he's been working with legislators to bring back indexing homeowner exemption. So there's that. Will it happen? I have no idea. Another question is that, well, let's just look at this sentence here. Primary objective of the assessor's office is a fair market-based valuation of the property. This ensures an equitable distribution of property tax burden. So whatever the tax need is, what your assessment is an indication of how much of the pie, the tax pie, that you're going to be paying to. So if everybody's assessments went up, I don't know, 40%, and the budget of those taxing districts only went up 3%, everybody is still going to be paying 3% more. They're not going to be paying 40% more, or 100% more, or 57% more. The most they can be paying is 3% more. So if your neighbor's house is valued at twice of what yours is, because he lives in a big old mansion, he'll be paying roughly twice what you are, regardless of if you're taking those numbers from 2 years ago or 10 years. It's like if your assessed value is of the same ratio, then you guys will be paying the same ratio in property taxes. So to see these stories about, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end, it's like, who am I going to beat up? It's like, and this guy here, I know you've seen some of his videos. It's like, the world's coming to an end, details at 11. And it's just like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's 3% of a deal. It's not a 57% big of a deal. So let's keep these things kind of in mind. So I hope that help you understand what's going on with the taxes up here. And let me just throw out one more bonus point here. As soon as I remind you, if you're thinking about Idaho might be the place for you, give us a call, text, email. We'd be glad to help you. And as far as this video goes, please like, share, and be sure you subscribe to the channel. So one last thing is that we see people are saying that rents are like so high that people can't afford to rent any place, right? So if we increase our homeowners exemption more, or go to the extreme and absolutely do away with property taxes altogether without providing another way of paying, well, let's just go with it. The more we increase the homeowners exemption, the more renters are going to be paying for the rental apartment, house, whatever. And why is that? Because if the homeowner is paying less taxes and there's that same need for that same amount of taxes from all those taxing districts, they have to get that money from someplace. They're going to get it from non-owner occupied, meaning rentals. So the price of a rental goes up $200 a month to pay for these taxes because the homeowners are getting that break. Then the renters are going to be paying that much more. So don't turn around on the one hand and say, oh my gosh, we need property tax relief because, I can't afford these increased taxes. And that may well be true. I could understand that. But then don't that same person turn around and say, we need to do something about low-income housing because rents have gone up. Well, you are arguing for this, and the unintended consequence maybe is that their rent went up. So be honest in what your discussions are amongst yourself and in your mind. Say, if I'm not paying it, somebody else is, right? I mean, that's really just kind of the bottom line. Well, anyway, thanks for stopping by today. It's a very important topic, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting it again as different things come up. But, well, this is Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave, looking forward to helping you get home.